Spotlight here on Hope TV, where you look and live. And on Spotlight, we are always doing our very best to bring to you stories and testimonies about organizations and persons who are doing great things in the community in the direction of light. And think about evangelism, think about witnessing, because coming to know Christ is often because you've heard from somebody else. It could be somebody in person, could be like a one-on-one, it could be in a congregation, it could be you're interacting with maybe an electronic media like a TV or a radio, but somehow you hear the gospel from somebody else and you hear it and you receive it, and that changes your life. Now, let's think about an organization whose work is to do exactly that on a day to day basis, and that is Life Ministry Kenya. Now, they are celebrating 50 years of doing exactly that, evangelism across the board. And it's just a great time for us to refresh ourselves from their testimony about the present and future of evangelism. And as always, you're part of this conversation. Please do just talk to us, and on our social media platforms, just talk to us. Let's hear what you have to say as we welcome Reverend Dr. George Mamboleo, who is
said, we don't have him. He's a Christian, a very strong Christian. I said, we don't have a Christian here. I said, oh, he looks like this, and then he appears. Oh, praise the Lord. I said, oh. Then his friend called said, oh, we didn't know you were a Christian.
Whoa, okay.
So that's where we go wrong.
Yeah.
So let us be with it.
Coming to you, Mike, it's an interesting. I mean, there's the big challenge that whom have you talked to intentionally about Jesus this last few days? Now, there's a Christian now who is watching this program and has never won anyone to Christ. Maybe they've been in salvation 10, 15, 20, even 30 years, but they've never won somebody to Christ. Would you say that their life as a Christian is a failure? How would you describe that?
So as he has mentioned, Matthew 28 is very clear that the Great Commission, this is not a suggestion, it is actually a commandment for all of us to go and share the gospel. So I'll not say that you're a failure. There is actually an opportunity for you to be able to learn on how to share the gospel. As I said, as a campus student, I was afraid, scared then, but it is actually possible for you to understand. When you are open yourself to learn on how to be able to share the gospel, then these opportunities are there. And Life Ministry is more than willing to help you learn these things.
Okay.
In Life Ministry, we have a slogan where we say that success in witnessing is simply taking the initiative to share Christ in the power of the Holy Spirit and leaving the results to God. Let me just repeat it again. That success in witnessing is simply taking the initiative to share Christ in the power of the Holy Spirit and leaving the results to God. So that sometimes when you think about sharing the gospel, it's not about our competence. It is us trusting the Holy Spirit to convict these people. So our mandate is to go and share the gospel and leave the results to God.
Okay.
So when you think about it, it is a win-win situation. Whether the person comes to Christ or not, you have done your part and you leave the results to God.
Yeah, I think we need to hear more about that because sometimes when we fear failure, that you go, guns blazing to witness, and then the person, may just maybe even trash what you've said, and you feel, I don't want to be in that experience again. But Reverend Dr. Mamboleo, Life Ministry, tell us how Life Ministry actually functions.
That's good. We are very in various, while we function, we have departments, if I may call them. As you have heard, my dear brother, Maide is student-led. So there is student-led, there is leader-led or leader impact, which deals with leaders. The student deals with the students from high school to the campus, and then they have a bridge in between when they are bridging either from the secondary school, high school, to university, and also even from the university to professional or wherever they are being put in the marketplace. And that's where the marketplace comes in, leader impact. Then we have global church. We work with the churches. So that's another area of how we function. And within impact, there are several other things that we do. We reach people, be it teachers, for example, or professionals, or lawyers, for that matter, whatever professional. So we do have that opportunity to have people come together as professionals. That's where we deal with leader impact. And we have a acronym also, sorry, and it's also live, but that is leadership for L. So everybody who is a leader, and everybody is a leader. You as a leader, you can influence. That's I. You bring influence in your segment or your peers. Not only influence, but finances. You need to provide funds for the organization or for the work of God to continue. And then there is this other part of expertise. So we try to bring all this life, L-I-F-E, into operation so that we can reach everyone, every person in our nation and even globally. So how do we function? We have those departments, and under those departments, for example, leader impact, we have, even when you are doing your exercise, we can show you how to do exercise. And I know many people wants to keep fit. So we have what we call body and soul. We have those of us who love like We had to recently this week, I think, athletics, and there was one who broke the world record. So we have athletics in action. So we work in the area of athletics in action. Family, we have family life. Young couples, old couples like me, we can still need to sharpen our marriage and, these areas, because if a family is not right, the society is rotten. So we have all those departments, and I can go on and on. And the change of society has a lot of problems. So we do also go on the side of education. Education from young people, they need those in the primary school. So we have a school where we bring the values of what is required of as a young child. So we have a school in Tana River. And those who wants to go for higher education, we have International Leadership University, where you can get your first degree, master's, and including PhD. So you see, that means we are holistic. Not only that, we also want to provide those who have been devastated. Like recently, we had a hunger when there was no rain and there was many issues. So we come in and provide for the body too, not only for the soul. And so we have humanitarian side, where we also help those people in distress or in having problems. So I can say we function. If I give the functions, there are many. Yeah.
It's a very holistic operation.
But the key thing,
it's
evangelism and witnessing.
All right.
Why? Because Jesus did so.
Okay, and commands, as you say.
Exactly.
Now, Maithia, especially as you deal with young people present times,
Yes.
and you have this message of Jesus Christ, you do meet that young people have also many other voices they are listening to. They're not just waiting for you to tell them about Jesus Christ. Somebody else has already come before you did. Now, maybe you can tell us some of the challenges that you face, especially in when you are witnessing to young people. Some of the key things that you find yourself going against.
So some of the challenges are addictions. When you think about it, I remember a certain time when we were doing a discipleship camp for our students, and we discovered some students had actually come with drugs for the camp. So addictions, drug addictions is a major thing. And also these days, phone addiction. A study was done that in Kenya, teens are spending over 7 hours in their mobile phones. It is actually the highest in Africa when you think about the Kenyan teen. So most of them are spending a lot of time online. When you think about spending time online, other negative things come out. There's cyberbullying, there's pornography, all these vices that arise. There's also the challenge of betting, which has also become a major challenge, especially amongst the young people when they're following the big teams and they want to make money very fast. So these are some of the things that we try to address, so that when you're doing evangelism, the first thing you get to do is just to be able to just create rapport with these people, so that you get to know what are some of the things they are going through, what are some challenges they are going through. Then from there you get to share the gospel with them. Then you do not stop there. After evangelism, they give their life to Christ, we now start doing follow-up. We have regular sessions with these students. Then after that, we normally have discipleship camps. So during the discipleship camp, it's like a 3-day thing. We get to focus on the foundations of Christian living. How sure are you that Christ is your life? So assurance of salvation, the whole aspect of just how to grow in your relationship with Christ, how to be filled with the Holy Spirit, all those dynamics, those foundations, so that even after campus, these principles are still with them.
Okay.
And you do not stop there. As a bishop mentioned, in life ministry, you are keen on win, build, and send. So that we are saying that even as you're winning people to Christ, we want to see them being built, we want to train them, and we want to send them, so that it becomes cyclic. The reason that I am in ministry right now is because someone discipled me while in campus, and I'm now doing the same to other people also.
Okay.
Yes.
We're still with you. Given the growth of secularism, and having been in the outreach for young people for quite a period of time, would you say that it's harder now than before?
So it's true. When you think about some of the challenges, I forgot to mention that we have also seen the aspect of postmodernism and also the mushrooming of just some cultic churches that have come, so that it has also become a challenge for us. So when you think about that, we have now started thinking about ways to be able to address some of these things, so that when you're doing discipleship, We are not just talking about evangelism discipleship, we're also talking about having some apologetic sessions with them, helping them to be able to deal with these aspects of postmodernism. Because you'll discover that as you're reaching out to the students, you'll meet some of them who are agnostics. They don't believe in God. So how do you start a conversation with them? So in such cases, we do an apologetic study with them. Then as you get to have conversations with them, we get to see them having a totally different perspective about who God is.
You know, when you mention apologetics, it all of a sudden sounds elitist, you know, as if you're having these Socratic discussions, you know. But if we need to get there, if that's what it takes, then we must go there. And these are challenges, but Dr. Mambole, you can tell us about 50 years of life ministry. What would you say are some of the big gains now that you've been there for quite a time?
Yes, thank you for that good question, because I've been here for almost 38 years now, and there's several milestones that has been achieved, not because of who we are, but because of God's grace that has been sufficient to life ministry. And it is not life ministry alone, and I want to put this to the onset, is because of partnership with many local churches. That's why we have been there. And as he was talking about building, training, and sending, it has been a circle, so it cannot be us. But for the last 50 years, a lot has happened. The several programs have been done. That I remember even before I joined, I was partially live ministry. I was involved in what is called Nimepata, or I Found It campaign. And it was a very good campaign. And in this city, for those who were there then, 1978, there were posters everywhere. I found it, you can find it too. That was the slogan. I found it, where? You can find it too. And then it directs you to a booth. There were several booths that were put strategically. And in that booth, there was somebody who was ready to say, what is this that you are talking? I found it. Nimepata nini? Umepata nini? Oh, unaweza kupata pia. And then one was able to train people had been there. One was able to share their faith through the 4 spiritual laws. But when we don't have a 4 spiritual laws, also I want to say this: we train you how you can give a testimony in 3 minutes. You give your personal testimony on how you came to know Christ, and as a result, somebody will challenge him. Then you can also have the similar testimony. Would you like to do so? And then you can pray for this person to receive Christ. So there was somebody there, and that was a very successful campaign at then, 1978. Later on, there's another milestone. I think Live Ministry was the first to bring the world together globally. We had Expo 85, and we had it here in KICC in Kenya. And that's when I was actually more involved with the churches and many other people, getting people into KICC. Expo 85 was via satellite, and we were connected all of Africa, Asia, Europe, and even in America. So that was a big bump. And I think by then there wasn't such life as we are now on Pop TV. But that was live. We could get, although we were in different time zones, it was well organized, but through satellite. That was live ministry that brought all the pastors and the leaders into KICC. And it was a great impact. From there, of course, we went witnessing in the areas in Nairobi, or the pastors who had come for this conference. That was 1985. And later on, of course, in the year 2000, even 1990, there were other activities. For instance, the New Life 2000, which was very successful in partnering with churches, training their people. And the people who have been trained, many of them have become even bishops. By then, when I joined Live Ministry, I was a lay person. But although I was involved in the church as an elder, but here am I, planted churches here in Kenya and elsewhere. So what I'm saying is that there has been several landmarks, or I could say milestones, that Live Ministry has been involved in, and as a result, we are not taking any glory about that. It's all for the glory of God, and that's our joy.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have equipped a number of many pastors and students in all spheres, conferences for the professionals and leadership, and all those.
So one of the big scores have has been the programs you've undertaken
Yes.
and the people you've been able to reach to, and the fruit you have seen as well
Exactly.
through the 50 years, as you say, to the glory of God.
Amen.
But we'd want to also now also hear from you when we take a short break. But some methods of evangelism aren't working anymore, especially in the city. You know, if you do door to door, for instance, if you do like the open air meetings, they seem to be like you just have a few people who assembled, a few church members, but the people aren't coming assembling anymore. So we want to hear some of the ways in which, going at the present time and also going forward, ways in which the church and the Christians can be able to take up both at a personal level and at a corporate level in evangelizing. Viewer, we are talking about evangelism, the present and the future of evangelism, and talking to Life Ministry, an organization that has been doing this work now for 50 years. And amazing encouragements as we go on with this program. We're taking a short break. I'll be right back and talk about methods of doing evangelism that are fitting for today and for tomorrow. This is Spotlight. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Kama vile mashua baharini, mizani imekwisha wasili. Mara hii kila Alhamisi.
Msalata kabisa, mpenzi mtazamaji, mpenzi msikilizaji wa Mizani.
Tungependa Wakenya waende kwenye nchi ambazo tuko na mikataba nao.
Ulikuwa na Raila Odinga, ukawa na Wajakoya pia. Mbona hongeunga mkono?
Tupima uzani wa masuala ibuka na chupukayo toka kila pembe ya Kenya na ukanda huu wa Afrika. Yawe mambo au vijimambo, jiongea na kutaarifu na kuarifu zako fikra. Kila Alhamisi saa 1 machweo kwenye runinga ya Hope TV.
Mitamu.
Tukutane Mizani.
I've actually been trying to find a balance. It's been really tough and hectic, but everyone says once you get a hang of it, it becomes better, and I don't know, but I'm hoping to find a balance soon because it's really been hectic. But you've been in the job industry for a long time, so I think you would know better. Sindio?
Huh? What time is it? I need to catch up on Leadership Forum. Do they have a radio here? Never mind. I brought my own.
No way. You can't be serious. Wait, why do you have a radio and you can just catch up with the shows on Hope FM podcasts?
Really? Even Meet of the Word?
I mean, you can find them on whatever platform, name it. AfriPods, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it.
But I'm not subscribed on any of them.
So no worries. You can just check out the latest episodes on hopemediakenya.org.
You can now listen to select Hope FM programs on your favorite podcast streaming platform or directly on our website, www.hopemediakenya.org. Listen and live.
Viewer, welcome back. This is Spotlight here on Hope TV, where you look and live, and we are talking about the present and future of evangelism, and we are having great insights from the Life Ministry personnel who have come to just share with us their experience and encourage us also when it comes to our life of witnessing. And just before we went for the break, we were talking about the need for us now to think about today and tomorrow and methods that are, not working anymore. But before we get there, we have had some big names come to this country. Like there have been some eras of evangelism. There has been the Uhuru Park era, whereby Uhuru Park was always had big names like Billy Graham and people like Maurice Cerullo and Bonke, right? I think I would ask more of Reverend Dr. Mamboleo more than my thing here. Did Life Ministry participate at all in this era of the Maurice Cerullos and
Yes, personally, I was involved in most
Okay.
of those, and but Life Ministry was involved with the Bilgram when we had Operation Andrew. That is one of the areas that Life Ministry participated so well. And on the big crusade, which became famous of Bonke and even was televised by then the only television nationally, it was us, Life Ministry, that mobilized the church in Nairobi and elsewhere. We had Operation Nehemiah. That was the really slogan that we had, Operation Nehemiah, building the walls of Jerusalem. And that time in Nairobi, actually there was the Koinange, that's why Koinange Street was very famous. And the national director then, we were going around the city and we could see this is not really what should be happening in this city. So we just said, the walls have been broken, so how can we rebuild? So we challenged and partnered with the churches in the city. Many churches came involved in the Operation Nehemiah, training them on evangelism. And in every segment where they were having their congregation, we told them to go and witness. But then to crown it all, we said, let's bring an evangelist. And as Jesus, of course, Jesus was a great evangelist, day and night, and of course, that was organized by the Operation Nehemiah Committee, where Life Ministry became the sponsor. And I can mention all the names who are then with the Lord. Most of them are going to be with the Lord, like Bishop Manasseh Korea was one of those. So to crown it all, we had taught and equipped the church because there were so many people who came to receive Christ. So what? Life Ministry does not stop. These churches, we gave those names to all the denominations, all the churches, individual churches, and they had trained people, and they had to go and do the follow-up. And there was growth in the churches in Nairobi. So we have been involved in such things.
Okay.
So basically, we have done large crusades, and we have done small groups, and we do one-on-one, as you mentioned.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. I think it's just good to know that you've been there.
Yeah.
Even in those big moments.
Yes.
And let's come to the present, Mike, here, because as we say, some of the methods that the churches had mastered, the open air crusade, the door to door. I mean, in some places now, it's actually no longer working. It's actually not advisable. And some churches are stranded as to where do we go? How do we, how do we replace this? So in the struggle of being like stranded, they're still insisting on the old methods, but they can see they aren't working. Maybe you can take us now to some things that Life Ministry does that you can say are now different edged and they are still able to serve the church and the Christian today as ways of evangelism.
Very true. So when you think about evangelism, before evangelism, it is important to do a survey. You'll discover that the median age in Kenya right now is 18 years. So most of these people are young people. So how do you get their attention? How do you get to reach out to them? So in Life Ministry, you have different strategies that we normally use. One of the strategies is digital evangelism. As I say that Kenyans are spending a lot of time online. So you have a team that basically reaches out to the people in the digital space, whether on Facebook, whether on Instagram, whether on Twitter. So what you normally do is you'll discover that companies out there use digital marketing for their benefit to be able to reach out to the young people. So why not use the same digital marketing and actually target that audience in that digital space? So it is actually very possible. So that let's say you are in Embakasi and you want to reach out to people in a certain area, maybe in Tasia, maybe in that area, you can actually be able to do that using Facebook and also using the different other strategies. As long as you're able to just strategize and use digital marketing, it is actually possible. So what we normally do is we train people on how to be able to do that, and also using our different social media sites, we're able to reach out to people in that digital space. Most of us actually have in WhatsApp. So when you think about my WhatsApp, my mobile phone on WhatsApp, every day I've purposed every Monday to Friday, I share a short film of the Jesus film on my WhatsApp status, so that when someone comes to my WhatsApp status, they're able to get to hear the gospel. Today I shared a clip in the morning at 6 a.m. and as of now I can be able to see that over 100 have been able to see that clip. So that if all of us are able to use our WhatsApp status also, it is actually possible for all of us to become digital missionaries. So that is a first strategy, basically using digital evangelism. The second thing, in life ministry, we have Jesus Film. We have the Jesus Film resources. And what is amazing is that we have translated the Jesus Film in over 56 languages in Kenya. So that if you're thinking that you want to share the gospel to the people back home, or even the people in Nairobi, you have translated the Jesus Film in English, in Swahili. The most reason that you have translated the Jesus Film is in the Samia language, in the Tachoni language. Those are sub-tribes of the Luya tribe. So that you can be able to use the Jesus Film as long as you have a smartphone. You don't need to have a big screen. You can be able to share the gospel with the people in the environment at home, or even as you're going to share the gospel, just use the smartphone and get to share the gospel. So you can be able to use the Jesus Film, and you also have many other resources that are in an app called the Jesus Film app. So I'll advise that for the viewers out there, just go to Google Play Store and download these two apps. There's a Jesus Film Project and there's a Got Tools. When you download those two apps, they have different resources for evangelism and for discipleship. So that we are saying that we do not have any excuse not to share the gospel. But for those people who are not digital savvy, but you'll discover that they love sports. In life ministry, as he mentioned, we have a department called Athletes in Action. So you can actually use sports to be able to reach out to the community. You can use football, you can use volleyball, you can use golf. You can actually use sports to be able to reach out to the young people. And when they come now, use that opportunity to be able to share the gospel.
Okay.
So that is also an opportunity. If you're thinking of reaching out to the young adults, the young families, as he mentioned, we have a strategy called Family Life. So we have resources whereby as these young couples are learning on how to be able to grow as young families, we also have some evangelism and discipleship resources so that these young families, some of them come to this discipleship group when they are non-believers, but you can actually use those resources. We have different materials that can actually be able to use to engage these young couples, and as they come, you get to share the gospel with them.
You know, just before we come to Dr. Mamboleo, I'm thinking, Maithia, I mean, door to door. I mean, it's a big thing. Like, you have to knock on doors. And then the open air crusade is a huge thing, you know, the music and all that. But now, you're telling me to go on, you know, on Instagram. You're telling me to go. Doesn't look serious, you know. And, you know, it doesn't look serious. Like, I mean, what do you mean? You know, what do you mean that I am on my smartphone, Jesus Film? What do you mean? Because, I mean, can you just speak to the church that is stuck? That they're not moving. They aren't moving. They are stuck here. They think that these other methods are light, and they're not. They're not. They're not serious. Like the things you mentioned aren't serious, you know.
So I'll actually ask the church to invite us as life ministry to come and train them on how to be able to
show them it's serious. Okay.
Yes, and also need to emphasize that we are not saying that door to door does not work, but we are saying that we get to learn some of the tools that we have to be able to share the gospel. As you can see on my hand here, I have a wristband, and the wristband here has 4 symbols, and the 4 symbols are basically the 4 spiritual laws. The first symbol is a love sign, and it basically talks about God's love. The second symbol is a division sign and talks about man's sinfulness. The third symbol is the plus sign, which is basically the cross, that there is no other way to get to heaven other than through Jesus Christ. Then the fourth symbol is a question mark, which basically asks, have you given your life to Christ as Lord and Savior?
You know, my fears, you are a walking tool. Because with your WhatsApp status, it's evangelism, it's your wristband, it's evangelism. I fear that you tell us your goatee also has something to do with a message. But let's come to you mentioned about leaders, because one of the things and one of the difficult things about maybe an initiative like door to door is that you don't get to the gated communities, all that. Those people behind this, you know, the doors need Jesus, but you can't pass the gate. You know, a whole gated community with 1,000 people, you cannot access the gate. So, and now you talked about the different segments. Now, like, I would want to ask you to maybe tell us, how do you reach the leaders in the society, the business people, the professionals, the politicians, the people behind the gates.
Yeah, that's right. And you are very right. And that's one of the key segment, or that's one of our key functions that we work very well. And it's called leader impact. And leader impact is for those of us you have properly explained. Business people are busy, are behind the chair. They are very busy. You cannot get even to their homes. It's very difficult. So what do we do in our live ministry? We have a strategy for the leader impact where we organize maybe a breakfast, and these business people want to meet other business people. So we have a breakfast or a dinner or a luncheon for whichever works best in whatever area. And we ask one of the key Christian leader in the community or in town to be the speaker, and they say, okay, we'll have this lunch or this breakfast. It will be strictly 1 hour, for example, 1.5 hours or 2 hours. And since leaders are very busy, and this busy will be exactly for those 2 hours, and that leader will come and speak. And we are inviting non-Christian and Christians. And you talk about one of the methods of reaching people. So these people are very busy, and I'm sure all of us wants to be somewhere to meet with other people. So that's how the networking. And we tell them you will have an opportunity to network with other like-minded professional, like-minded people. And so in that occasion, there will be interaction, and somebody will speak on his testimony, a Christian leader in the society. And as we have said earlier, from all our high school campus, there are people who have gone, who have climbed the ladder, and we have, I may not mention their names here, but we have all up to the highest level in this land who have gone through life ministry training. So he will come and give his three-minute testimony. And then there will be a question, or some people will say, maybe I want to hear more, and we'll have a questionnaire. And when they want to hear more, then they give their contact, and we call them and say, can we meet over lunch? We have staff who will come and talk to ask inquiry. And there are those who will pray to receive Christ right there. We'll still follow them up. So that's one way of reaching the top leaders. And not long ago, we had another group having dinner in Nakuru, and their testimonies is just, I mean, you can just hear the testimony, what happened. So we do that, reaching leaders. And he mentioned about sports, so that's another area. The sport, who doesn't love sports? Whether you are a sports person, but you may be one of the cheerleaders for that matter. So you'll come and we will be there. And before we start the tournament or whatever, we'll pray because who doesn't want to pray, and then we'll share something. And then if you ask questions, please remain behind. And many of them remain, and they ask questions that they are inquiring. And we lead them on to show how they can receive Christ. So we are doing witnessing. I usually say this: methods will change, but the message remains the same.
All right. I like the leader, preach leader.
Yes.
And there's some people, right, who would say that I don't tell people with my mouth, like I just evangelize with my life, right? And they are not taking up any method of, like, expressly reaching to somebody else, but they say, let my life speak. Do you think that they are, I mean, are they being too safe, or are they maybe just convinced that their life is quite strong, it's strong enough to speak, or what would you say to such a person?
I will encourage such a person, as I said, the acronym of life, you should be able to, first of all, give leadership. Even in that, as you have properly said, I don't want to say anything. I just, okay, how do you lead? Give leadership. Is the leadership having all the values of Christ? Are they Christ-centered? So because if you're saying you are witnessing with your life, so let's see how you are leading. What influence do you have? And if you have an influence to the society or influence of the people around you, they will ask you questions. So because I'm looking up to you, so do you have something to say? So you will have to say something. So in one way or the other, you are influencing. And if you may not tell them, you may point them to somebody. who can explain them. So your influence is important. And say, I'm too busy, I cannot do that, I cannot talk. Then give your finances for people like Maithia and people like us, all of us on this platform, to go and talk about it, because you will enable me to go to Turkana, you will enable me to go to Kisumu, Mombasa, wherever, where you cannot go. So you are doing something.
So either way, you have to be intentional.
Intentional.
All right.
So you see,
yeah.
your expertise. Give your expertise. You are a doctor. And we didn't say that. We give some clinic for where people need that service. So come.
Okay.
And as a doctor,
So either
give your
way, you have to be loud.
That's right.
You know, and one of the big gaps in some of the churches, my fear, is discipleship. You keep talking about discipleship as if it's something to take for granted. But some churches are struggling at different levels. They are struggling at, winning souls, and they are also struggling at discipling the ones they have. About discipleship, I want you to maybe speak to, especially to the leaders who are watching this program. How critical is discipleship in a church?
2 Timothy 2:2 says, in the things you have heard me say, in the presence of many witnesses, entrust reliable men who will also be faithful to teach others. So that Paul actually is working with Timothy, and is also encouraging him to work with others also. When you think about my life, the reason I am fruitful right now is because someone actually was intentional to disciple me. I gave my life to Christ over 23 years ago, but I didn't know how to actually share the gospel. So the fact that someone was able to multiply his life through me, and I'm now able to do the same for others. So when you think about it, we normally say in a life ministry that after evangelism, follow-up and discipleship is very critical. Because when you think about it, you might win many souls, but 48 hours later, if you have not done follow-up, then we end up really losing these people because they are not really grounded in the Word of God. So it is very important, it is very critical. When you think about the challenge that we have as a church right now, is the fact that the young people, the people in the church are not being discipled. And this is very critical. So sometimes you might wonder, how best do you actually do discipleship? It is important to have also the right kind of materials to be able to do discipleship. And in life ministry, we have lots of these resources so that after someone gives their life to Christ, we do have some follow-up material. They normally take between 4 to 6 lessons. Then after that, we do have discipleship lessons. And you need to be very intentional that even as you're discipling these people, we also need to train them to also go and share the gospel with other people.
So it is critical.
It is very critical.
Yes.
Let's just maybe add on that. It's very critical, as you have said. Any church that does not have discipleship, soon it will be turning a monument. So there will be no life. So let us train others, teach others, let them do likewise. Then they will be vibrant.
Okay. Yeah. No, just staying there at the challenges of the church that doesn't do discipleship. I'm sure that at Life Ministry, you've had great successes, but there are also some significant challenges that you faced over time. What are some of those challenges?
Well, first and foremost, we are not a church. And I want to mention that, and I should have mentioned it, but let me mention it now. Life Ministry is not a church and does not intend to become a church. So what are some of the challenges? Some churches may be suspicious when we come to ask, let's train your people. Say, oh, this person may be, or these people want to take my members to begin another church. And we try to explain, no, we are actually helping you to grow or to plant churches. And those who have accepted that, there are many testimonies of many bishops in this city of Nairobi and elsewhere in the country, where they have allowed us to come and equip them, and they have seen the results. So one of the challenges is doubt. But I want to tell you, if we have been here for 50 years and we have not begun a church, then it means we are doing the right thing. So that's one of the big challenges. Of course, the second challenge, which is always there, is an issue of financing and funding. The staff of Life Ministry Kenya, they are missionaries, and they are really missionaries. When I say a missionary, they have been missionaries. I have been a missionary, and I am a missionary for many years. I've even been sent by the Kenyans to US. That's where I spent some of my years after being a leader in Kenya. My idea is a missionary, and many others who are our staff are missionaries. Why do I say a missionary is one who is sent? How is he sent? He's sent by being given the resources. So all the staff in Life Ministry trust God to provide for them. So they trust, and we don't mimic and we don't do gimmicks. We trust God by faith to provide. That's why we don't make any other things, just trusting God that God is going to provide for our needs or my needs, and you're going to challenge somebody. So that has been a big challenge, especially when you go to pastors to challenge them. No, you are a big organization. You should not be asking for money. I'm the one who is asking money. But I want to challenge the church should be a mission oriented. In other words, they should be giving to other missions. We also give. Most of us, some of the things, as we will say, I will say this, like Jesus film. We have given Jesus film out there free for the church to use. And their benefit, I call it the night crusade. And they are using that night crusade to harvest souls. So, and we are giving it there. It's a resource. But we also need that money to make more or to do more. So that's one of the challenges that Life Ministry faces. And those two, manpower, because of the lack of resources, they may not be many. We would like to open offices in 47 counties, but now we are just in a few, maybe 10.
All right. Yeah. And I think that those challenges, as you say, even having weaved through them over the 50 years, and you're still here.
I'm still here.
And still projecting. Then you're doing something right. You're doing something right. And finally, every celebration will usually have a culmination, you know, and also a vision going forward. What's the culmination like, and how is the vision like? A few minutes just before we end the program.
Okay, so on 21st of October, we are going to be gathering at Safari Park from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. just to celebrate what God has done in the last 50 years. So this is an invitation to everyone that you're most welcome to join us for the celebration. The cost for the celebration is just 3,000. If you're an individual, if you want to come as a couple, it's 5,000. If you want to come like a team of around 5, you can be able to pay around 14,000. So you're saying, come and let us celebrate and just hear what God has been doing in the last 50 years. The venue is Safari Park, and you're looking forward to have as many as possible to join us.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
In addition to that, it's not only the 5th anniversary, but we also 36 years of Christian military ministry. Life Ministry has been able to work in partnership with our military, and it's now 36 years. So they shall also be with us to celebrate that 6 years of the existence of Christian military ministry.
All right.
And whereby Life Ministry has been very instrumental in having a curriculum for trauma. So when our soldiers get out there are all these things. We have that training which we have offered the military.
Okay.
So we are there to serve others.
All right. In just one word, going forward, 50 years from now, do you see evangelism becoming tougher, or do you see it becoming easier?
That is a good question. But I will take you to the Word of God.
Briefly. Yes. And it's coming to you also.
We have been given the power. And I'm with you until the end of the age. That's the promise. So it's going to be tough, but let me tell you, more souls will be harvested.
Okay.
Yeah.
My fear, do you see it becoming tougher? Do you see it becoming more fluent?
I see it becoming tougher, but I know that God is going to give us wisdom. When you think about the last 50 years, we have done different ways to be able to share the gospel. God will still give us wisdom. Even as we face challenges, God is still going to be at work, and we look forward to have even many more coming to Christ. Yes.
I'm sure 50 years ago, if we were asked this question, is it becoming tougher? The people sitting there would say it's becoming tougher.
Yes.
But look, 50 years down the line,
here.
you're here. So 50 years up, up the line, down the line, I'm sure there'll be testimonies as well.
Exactly.
So, it's a great insights, and thank you so much for coming out, even to remind us about the value of evangelism, and also to know that there is an institution where, when the churches want to just work on their discipleship, work on their evangelism methods, they can call, and your Life Ministry is there always to support. So God bless you.
God bless you, and thank you for
volunteers.
having us here. God bless you too.
Viewer, we've been talking to Life Ministry and talking about the value of evangelism. And surely it's clear that as we discern, as we go forward as institutions and also as Christians, The message of Christ remains the same, but the methods do change. How are you changing your methods? This has been Spotlight. Thank you for watching.
Kama vile mashua baharini, mizani imekwisha wasili. Mara hii kila Alhamisi.
Msoleta kabisa, mpenzi mtazamaji, mpenzi msikilizaji wa Mizani.
Tungependa Wakenya waende kwenye nchi ambazo tuko na mikataba nao.
Ulikuwa na Raila Odinga, ukawa na Wajakoya pia. Mbona hongeunga mkono?
Tuwape mauzani wa masuala ibuka na chupukayo toka kila pembe ya Kenya na ukanda huu wa Afrika. Yawe mambo au vijimambo, jiongea na kutaarifu na kuarifu zako fikra. Kila Alhamisi saa 1 machweo kwenye runinga ya Hope TV.
Ni tamu.
Tukutane Mizani.